education witnessed a development and change in its methods over time, in which traditional methods such as memorization and recitation moved to modern methods that include student interaction, replacing the traditional education method where students were just meant to be sitting in silence, waiting for their turn to read, while paying attention to the teacher, and then conduct written tests or oral examination just by studying and memorizing the lesson. These methods have been used successfully in schools for many years, in which teachers have imparted knowledge and disciplined behavior to their students, but these methods have never had what it takes to develop critical thinking in students. It had not what it takes to enable the students to develop problem-solving skills, nor to give them decision-making skills. So that the educational system necessitated the development of modern methods of teaching that depend on activity using the techniques of questioning, explanation, clarification, and cooperation, which pushes the student to become more productive. Transferring traditional education from its traditional to modern methods requires several steps, including asking questions instead of giving answers. The aim is to ensure that students are able to ask the relevant and correct question. Transition from classroom to network. The goal here is to connect students with teachers wherever they are located around the world. Moving from consumption to innovation by making students able to create and republish content using digital tools and spaces. In 1995, the electronic revolution entered in our reality, and it was represented in commercial operations, government institutions, banks, and electronic markets. Education had the largest share in this process through the concept of digital learning. Technology has brought to the educational process fundamental structural changes, achieving significant improvements in educational productivity. This technology provided new digital learning tools such as computers and mobile devices in order to expand training courses and make educational materials easily accessible in any moment. Technology has also accelerated the pace of the process of learning, allowed us to reduce costs associated with learning materials, and saved teachers' time. Blended education began with the introduction of computers and digital devices in the educational process, so to combine and mix two types of learning tools together in schools or universities. The first countries to introduce technology in the educational process are America, Finland, Canada, and South Korea. Many aspects of our life have been devastated by the pandemic. Some of the educational institutions that faced closure progressively reopened and started operating under online learning models. Educational institutions have been compelled to make an immediate transition to remote methods of learning that rely heavily on technology. The immediate transition to online learning has not made it possible for many to be prepared for the challenges ahead. This migration to remote learning had to be implemented as quickly as possible. There are significant economic downfalls to such a response, not to mention the academic delay incurred by students. This is why a lot of academic institutions opted for the less drastic measure of transitioning to online distance education, ODE. ODE is the use of the Internet and certain other significant technology for the production of educational content, instructional delivery, and program management. It presents lots of cons and pros. One of the main pros is impetus for change. This forced digital transformation in education exposed problems within the system and pushed educators to contemplate and review current and previous models of education, providing a window into what a technology-based education and work environment might be like, thereby stimulating pedagogical innovations and accelerating the change. This impetus for change led to the conduction of lots of studies and experiments in the educational field. We can distinguish between two types of experiments: research experiments and classroom experiments. The first test theories, establish behavioral norms, and new market designs or policies. They are conducted in carefully controlled environments using financial incentives and procedures that are intended to allow scientific replication. On the other hand, classroom experiments have a different purpose and so are much easier to conduct. Experiments in the classroom seek to involve students in a decision-making environment and allow them to explore the outcomes of their decisions. Active discussion with students during and after the experiment is a major objective. So classroom experiments often have a set of discussion questions that are introduced as the experiment progresses. Unlike research experiments, classroom experiments do not require students to be paid in order for the experiment to be successful. Often, the desire to do well in class is sufficient motivation for students. Experiments can be used to introduce new ideas or to clarify puzzling aspects of topics with which students typically struggle. If the result of an experiment is surprising yet convincing, students are in position to build ownership of the new idea. In addition to checking that the conceptual focus of the experiment has been understood correctly, post-experiment assignments can push students to describe a follow-up experiment or to extend the concept to another application. Now, For more detailed information, let's go to the next presentation.